Hello everyone and welcome back to Stars End Behind the Scenes. I'm your host, 2005 Guide Road 2. Okay, I'm a little bit on a time crunch at the moment. I've got roughly an hour before I have to go to the job centre. I'm currently unemployed and seeking a full-time job. Unfortunately, because of my knees and various injuries all throughout my body, there's only a limited field that I can actually do. And of course, all the youngsters want those those fields instead of doing things that they are quite literally capable of doing. So it makes it harder for me to get a foot in the door, as it were. Um, but going back to the game itself, I wanted to show you guys a couple of things, what you can expect when the update goes live. I'm not sure when the update will go live because there's still a couple of bugs being worked on. I don't know if you'll be able to see those bugs when we go in. They'll be in this area right here with the exclamation mark, I think it's called. Sorry, the stop sign with the exclamation mark in it. So the yellow ones, apparently, I can just ignore them. The white bubble here, I can ignore that. It's basically stuff that happens within the game when it goes through various motions. I've got it on the console at the moment because I didn't want to show all the other stuff. But also thanks to the devs, so I know a little bit about Unity. Before I started helping them, I didn't know anything about it. Little background history for anyone that does not already know it. I've been a volunteer games tester for the Stars and Dev team for start of 2021. Initially, when I was working at a household waste recycling centre in Hertfordshire, I was approached by the devs when I covered their game in video. I went through their one of their updates, and I was quite thorough about it. Wherein I went, this has worked, this didn't work, this still works. There's a weird issue here, and so on. And basically, I went through the entire thing from let's say from the start of the player guidance all the way through to the end of it, and showing which parts of the game update did and didn't work. And I was approached by the top dev, the one that does all the payments for the game, pays for all the servers, the full-timers and everything else, which there are only maybe 2 or 3 now. Lost quite a few developers, including the animator, during the virus days. So we lost 2 people there. There's one additional person that helps on and off, not employed by the dev team, but just a helper like myself. They did offer to pay me, but I rejected payment. Still reject payment. Reason being is I'm currently unemployed. I don't want to get sanctioned by the government, or because I don't want to deal with the tax system. Because if I were to take money from the developers, I would have to declare myself self-employed. I would have to do the tax form for multiple countries, including my own. And there is no way I'm going to do that. I'm not that into mathematics anymore. I used to do retail, hate retail with a passion, absolutely hate it. Of course, because of all the retail, if I'm talking to somebody or I'm watching a politician on news, I know exactly when they're lying to me, because I've worked in retail for such a freaking long time. But because of the whole thing with unemployment here in the UK. It's a little bit iffy, let's say. So when they approached me if I wanted to become a volunteer tester, at first I thought they were joking. So I asked the head of if he was joking or if he really wanted that, and he said he was not joking and wanted me to be a volunteer tester. And I said, yes, I'll do that. Just don't pay me for it. Just put that income straight back into the game development itself. So I want to see the game come out. I want to see it fully released without any bugs. Of course, the release came a little bit earlier than planned because they had a date set, but the game was nowhere near close to being finished. So there is let's say, a tough issue there. I want to say what happened, but I will leave that for the moment until the whole thing is done and dusted. Let's just say that servers are expensive. Game development is very expensive, and that does not include the Unity engine, but it does include any assets, any creative stuff that you add to the game, animators, music, the coding and stuff. Somebody has to pay for it, especially if it's something that you yourself can't do. For example, I can't code. I'm teaching myself how to code, but looking at how thick the book the book is, 800 pages. So it's a little bit much, and I can't learn from books. I can only learn from seeing somebody do it and then doing it myself. And unfortunately, I can't find anyone to actually do that. So I'm trying to pick up as much as I can while helping while helping the developers develop the game. But after, well, let's say during the pandemic, the flu virus, um, it it is sort of like a flu virus at the moment. Because if you, for example, if you have a cold, if you have the flu, the normal flu, and you use one of those PCR tests, it just comes up as the same thing. It says that you're infected with something that you're not. Heck, you could always use orange juice or grape juice. I can't remember which one it was that set it off. The children in the UK schools figured that one out for if they wanted a free day or 2 weeks free from school. They used orange juice and grapefruit juice. One of the two would make it look like they had a positive when they didn't have it in reality. But going back to the game development side, halfway through the pandemic, they tried to do too many things to release a game, and they wound up breaking the game very, very badly to the point that the game had to be rewritten from scratch. During that time, they made a little bit of a mistake. That mistake has been sort of corrected, and during that mistake period, they asked me if I wanted to become, if I didn't mind updating my LinkedIn. So I hadn't touched my LinkedIn for years. I don't use LinkedIn, but they asked me if I could update my LinkedIn and put down as part-time. And I went, I don't mind, but I'll have lots of grief from the job centre. because I can't earn money and claim job seekers at the same time. So I'm still officially as a volunteer tester, but on the LinkedIn, I'm officially as a part-timer, albeit, like I said before, the income that I would have had, I'm having them put straight back into development of the game. They have offered to cover some hardware of my hardware that I use. I need to upgrade my hard drives and stuff like that. And I basically I didn't say anything about it. So I've left it completely up to them if they really, really want to do that. But officially, no. Or should I say unofficially, no. I don't know which one it would be. um, but what I want to do is I want to help them as much as I can to get the game out without any bugs. I have full access to the game, all 140 gigabytes of it. So I've got the entire repository on one of my hard drives, which is why we're able to go in through Unity. And which is where we come to what we're going to be covering today. So what I wanted to do is show you guys some of the bits and pieces where I've been involved. And it's not just the whole bug hunting and stuff like that, but I've actually been trying to help the balancing within the game. So initially started with the plastic fiasco. I call it a fiasco because it was completely and utterly nuts. As in, used 3 cans of oil to and some salt to make 2 polymers, and then used 2 polymers to make 2 plastic, and then you used the 2 plastics to make 1 bottle, and then you'd use 1 bottle to make 1 can of oil. Now, if you have any idea on how that would fit, I have no idea, but that just did not make any sense to me. So well, they give me the ability to, let's say, do a little bit of balancing within the game. During that, I learned more and more about Unity, because I didn't know anything about Unity at the time. And I've been gradually balancing the entire game. The only thing that I have not, let's say, touched yet is the clothing. I have not balanced the clothing yet. So when it comes to clothing that you can make within the game, those recipes are still default. There's nothing that I've changed there yet. There were quite a lot of exploits within the game, and while balancing the game, I've been removing every exploit that I could find within that area. Now, some of the long-term or even the PvP players may not like the balancing that I've recently done, but I'm trying to keep the economy. I'm trying to keep the economy part of it intact, and keep the economy part completely balanced at the same time while I'm balancing it. So what I did initially was change the weight system from nautical units, I believe it's called, to kilograms, with help from both programmers, and of course with the permission of the lead dev. But we found that there was a slight hiccup with the counting system of C#. I didn't know that it was a counting system of C# until I started to teach myself how to code. I still don't know that much about it because there are over 800 pages there. And I'm still up to page 50, if you believe it or not. So I have to, every time I stop, I have to reread it just to try and get it in my head, and I can't. So I'm going to try other methods to get that knowledge into my head. The only problem is, if I learn that, what am I going to lose? It's like my Dutch. I've lost so much on my Dutch when I was trying to get my English back. Uh, when I'm on the phone to my mother in Holland, I have a lot of trouble trying to relay my my message in Dutch to my own mother. It is so difficult. Um, I've just lost so much Dutch over the last couple of years. It's very surprising, but that's because I've been uh, cramming all the information that I can for stuff over here in the UK. Um, and every time I learn more, I learn, I lose other things. I wish I could just cram everything in my head and keep it in my head and everything like that, but unfortunately, stuff like that just does not happen in life. Um, so when you learn something, you always lose something else. So the problem is going to be, what do you lose? So where I've been, going back to the game, where I've been balancing things, I started with the weights, then I moved on to the resources. The lead developer wanted the resources to be a certain weight type and a certain price for each one. And I basically worked off of that when it came to balancing the rest of the stuff in game. So where you had the resources that were, let's say, a small value initially, which made sense, um, the developer wanted players to be able to trade those smaller resources in and get a greater return so that they could get through the game, through the first part of the game a lot faster. Um, so I increased the value of it. But what I wanted to also do was make sure that everything else had corresponding values with the right increments going upwards. So, for example, you get some plant fiber. Let's say it's only worth 1 credit. You turn it into cloth. The developer wanted it to be valued at, I think it was 8 or 10, maybe even 15 credits. I can't remember without my spreadsheet at the moment. I don't have my spreadsheet up. We'll be able to see that in the game in a sec. And then you have things that you can make with the cloth. So you can make, you can use the cloth in creating a saw. So the saw was scrap metal, wood, sticks, and scrap cloth. So you basically, I basically tallied those resources up, and we got the proper figure, and I put the proper figure in the game now. When it comes to making bandages and stuff like that, they've now got the correct cost. Plus a little bit extra because of the player grinding session within creating it, gathering it and creating it, and so on. So you've got the initial cost with a little bit extra, and then for the next let's say upgrade of the materials, so you're making something else with it, that gets added to it, and then again a little bit gets added to it again, just like in real life. Um, Basically, how let's say how manufacturers do it. They've got the initial cost of the item. Then there's the work, the amount of work that's gone on it as well. So time equals how much pay that gets added to that cost, then a little bit extra so that they've got a little bit profit, and then it goes to the next supplier or manufacturer, and then that little bit extra gets added on, and a little bit extra gets added on. Then it gets passed to the next one and the next one. So it's basically the whole supply chain, let's say, issue, and why everything in life is so damn expensive, especially at the moment. And basically, I've been trying to keep the economy, let's say, level at the same time, so that it doesn't completely break the economy economy system. So the whole thing is now pretty much balanced, except for when it comes to the clothing. I still need to do the clothing, but after I've done the clothing, that's a total of somewhere close to 500 items. But during this whole, let's say, balancing period and changing the recipes here and there to make other things work, adding a couple things and making those work. Let's just say hours wise, I probably spent a good 40 hours just balancing the game, and I'm not completely there yet, but because I'm not completely sure when the update's going to go live, and if I can get the clothing finished before the update goes live, I'm not sure if I can do that, but I'm going to aim for it. I wanted to show you guys just how far I've gotten with the balancing, and some of the changes you'll definitely see when you're in the game. I've also been trying to balance the building side of things. However, there is a big part of the building side I've actually just left alone. The only thing I've done is balance the currency of it, because when it comes to the grinding side of it, I found it was actually pretty damn balanced. Um, but very well balanced actually. So I don't actually have to change very much on that at all. Um, but I did change a couple of the recipes here and there, so it uses a little bit less resources. I was asked if I could lower the amount of resources required to make the tutorial part of the game, so the player guidance, go a little bit quicker than it did. Because initially, depending on how good you are in the game, if you're new to the game, it will take roughly about just shy of 2 hours or 2 hours to get through the player guidance. Um, for myself, I can speed run the player guidance within an hour, and that's without any admin tools. Um, so with the new changes within the game, that 1 hour is pretty much doable for anyone that's in the game. That's not really that near to go, not that new to the game. If you're new to the game, it'll probably only take about 1.5 hours to get through the player guidance. Um, of course, when you're doing the player guidance, you don't know how many resources of which and everything. You don't know how many resources you need each time. So I might be able to squeeze into this video the little spreadsheet that I've been making as I've been going along, and how I've been using to keep everything, let's say, balanced. Um, I've I will be going through the damage that the weapons do. Some of it doesn't make any sense, and I'm going to go through that as well soon. If I can figure out how to do the durability, I'll have a look at that side as well, but I don't think I've got control over that part. I think that's hard coded, but I'll look for it and see how that goes. So we did the weight, which was in the update before last, I believe. Um, then I've gradually been through the last couple of updates. I've gradually been balancing. This balancing, I've basically balanced everything up until the clothing. So I haven't done the clothing yet, but I've done the vehicles last, which are definitely now completely balanced. So the pricing is balanced. What you get back from the vehicles, if you strip them from all their parts, you sell off the frame, you keep the parts, you can build the next ship, the ship that the players can make themselves. You can actually use those collected parts to and integrate them into your build for the bigger ship, the spinner. So I just wanted to go through that part with you guys, show you guys some of the changes, and hope that you're not too mad with me balancing the whole thing and getting rid of the exploits. And so with that said, let's dive straight into the game and see what we can do. Now, I believe the only way I can actually do it is to go through hosting. I've only hosted once so far, so please don't kill me if I get it wrong. So let's do that. Can I do a dash in there? I don't know. Let's do dash. IT. How long can you make it? Ah, okay. So you can't put test. I might be able to do test if I remove the other. Oop. Okay. Maximum one player anyway, so PvE. This doesn't work, by the way, so don't worry about that. Oh boy, I don't have much time left. My official title currently. Okay, so the first update that I could say is speeding up of the loading process.
They had some fool notion.
So this should be a lot quicker now. And as you can hear, we're almost in it. That was a lot quicker. A lot quicker. Now, this is Unity, so I'll have some bugs with the mouse, but I always have this bug with the mouse on the screen when using Unity. I don't like it. Only way to get rid of it is to click, and then it basically does punch bit on it. So let's go through the motions. I always go through these cans to see if there's anything useful in them. Okay, so the changes. This is still the same. I can't muck about with this. I believe that this is hard coded. But what we want to do is we want to go to crafting, and we want to have a little look at all the bits and pieces. So I don't think I've changed that. I think that's still default. This has been lowered a little bit, I believe. This is still the same. Campfire is still the same, although the price is a little bit higher when it comes to selling price. Same with the Didgals. You can sell them in the general trader, and as you can see, the price currently is 32. So that's a lot. It is a lot more than what it was before. I made that the lighter is craftable because I tried to put a degradation bit on it. So I used it, and also needed to use it up, and then you'd have to craft another one. But when it comes to crafting them, because this helium-3 is so valuable. I made it that you craft 4 of them. So you'd be looking at I hate math. 360, roughly 360 credits, give or take. I can't remember. I say my maths, it's really bad. Makeshift backpack is now also the correct price. The bow is the correct price. The arrows are the correct price. 28 credits per arrow. However, when it comes to crafting the bundle is still cheaper. But when it comes to the ammo, I've made it so that you have to create them in singles. Then you can make a box of the ammo and then stack the boxes to increase the amount of storage that you've got available to you. Because there is no volume in here, it's just purely weight. And then you're limited to how much is in your inventory and stuff like that. Now, there is still an issue with the weight. Sometimes it will come up with let's say 0.00005 or anything like that. That's C#. Don't know what's causing it in C#, but C# cannot count for I have no money. It's it's worse than my math. But that said, also makeshift mid-pack. It now basically requires 1 alcohol, 1 bandage, and 4 dirty gas, and that gives you a total of 75% health back. Then also medicated bandage gives you half health back. This bandage gives about 25% health back, and the dirty gas I believe it only gives about 10% back. You can use a scrap cloth. I think it gives about 5% health back, but only you can only really use it to stop any bleeding, and that's it. I would not use a scrap cloth to help myself. It would be completely ridiculous. In other words, it's like, for example, if I had to say medical terms, it'd probably be like these things here, woven swabs. It's maybe only good for, let's say, holding against your wound and hoping it would stop the bleeding. I use them on my head frequently. Then you've got the sleeping bag, also now correct price and all the bits and pieces. The wood container, as you can see, it's worth quite a bit. So what you could do is you could go into make quite a few of them, go into space and just sell the wood containers, or you could just make lots of, let's say, bundles of arrows. Would be an exploit. Uncompress them all and then sell the single arrows to the general trader. General trader will take them. That's one of the things that is now in the game as well, which is actually already part of the game. There are a couple of things with the makeshift rods, which may change because there is a fishing reel in the code, and the only thing is that there's no icon for it. So if we could get an icon for it and the actual, let's say the actual part, we might be able to make the fishing reel at some point and then have that within the fishing rod crafting menu. But it's something that might be an if, because I don't know if that's going to be a win. I'm not sure how that sort of thing works yet. I have had a couple of pointers from one of the developers as to how to bring something new into the game, but I'm not going to just bring it in without approval first. So it's just one of those things. I know that there are parts there. I'm just not sure if it's possible to bring those parts in the game yet. Unlike bacon. Bacon is now in the game. So if we go to provisions, if we look down here, we have bacon, and we have raw pork. That was already part of the game, but you could never get hold of the raw pork. The other thing is, one raw pork gives you 12 bacon, which is something that I introduced that, because the bacon only gives a very minuscule of food back. So you can now create raw pork, because I have no idea how you do it through the looting system. The looting system is hard coded, so I can't control that part. So temporarily, until I have access to the looting system and change that bit, and make it so that the pig drops the pork and not just raw meat, I've made it so that in the food processor you can turn 2 raw meat into 1 pork, and then 1 pork gives you 12 bacon. And then of course, because it's 12 bacon, that's why it's only worth 5 credits, because that would be a total of 60 credits for all 12. So, and also because of the fillets, you get 2 fillets back for each fish, so that's basically why it's 30 credits and not 60. So all that is all balanced. I've also done the recipes for the Christmas mix so that you can actually do it. You don't need a device to make it, you just have to get hold of these items. Milk you do have to purchase. Flour you no longer have to purchase, you can actually make it. Yeast you can either make it or get it by killing a trawler. Same with the eggs. Well, with the eggs you can either find it in the rubbish or you can kill a trawler. So you can make the Christmas mix. The Christmas mix is worth 80 credits. So that's purely because of the value of the items used. So as you can see, the value by the value of the items, it's not really worth very much. It used to be 150 for the mix and then 150 for the cake that would come out at the end of it. So I've balanced it in a way so that you use the components, it's worth 80. But when it comes to making the cake itself, if we go to the Christmas cake, you've got the cake mix, then you've got a couple other things. We can't make icing in the game yet, so I've had to resort to using cheese until we can actually get some icing in. And then of course it uses the food printer, and then the Christmas cake is worth 250 credits, so it's definitely worth making. Also, if you just want to use it as a food source, it gives you full stats back when it comes to after eating it. So all this stuff now is balanced. You can make the butter, you can make the cheese. It's only doing 1 because, and then with 2 salt with that one, because let's face it, it's just going to be a little bit time consuming otherwise, or very expensive at the end of it. So to cut costs down, I've basically made it that less in the way of resources needed to make it. So you could say it's a tiny cheese, because you can make a small piece of cheese out of a carton of milk. You'll have to look up how to do it, because I'm not going to it'll make me want to throw up or never eat cheese ever again. So I've also made it so that you can also make that one. I've also made sure that there's no errors in it, because there was an error in it. For some reason I had a space between salt and then that became a question mark and unknown item. So if you see an unknown item, please let me know, because I'll have to quickly fix that. So it will be my error. But I've gone through pretty much everything to make sure that there is no issues. Also, there was there are a couple materials in the game which are very hard to find, if at all. And for some reason, in the game that we're currently playing of it, it's called one thing, but within the code, it's something completely different. So it took me a while to find them, and I've replaced some of the materials so that it'll be slightly easier to make it. So Korak can be harvested on Tygon. Quillian can be harvested on Tygon. Alua herb, I believe, can be harvested on Tygon. Though this one may be a oversight, because I think that's the one that I no, so that one's not Tygon. That one is Titan. Titan's got that herb on it. At least it should have. It's in the game files. It's called the Titan herb. So it's just one of those things that does crop up every now and again. It should be you should be able to find that one either in containers or rubbish bags, anything like that. You'll definitely be able to find that on the planet. But the Quillian herb can only be harvested on Tygon. You can't find it in the rubbish. And then you've got the Granny Mead, which is just yeast and sugar. I believe you can make sugar. Yeah, it's yeast and plant fiber in the food printer. You can also make two types of bread. You can make fiber bread, which is worth a little bit, and of course you can also sell that either in the restaurant, where you can also buy the proper bread, or you could use it to eat for your character right up, or you can trade it at the general trader. So there are several ways to get rich. It just takes a little bit of time. Now, when it comes to components, I've been going through them a bit of time, so there's not really much change on the circuit board. I think it had only one copper wire last time, but I've increased it to 2 because, let's face it, can't make what's it called stuff PCBs are actually made out of. They're actually made out of fiberglass with lots of hazardous chemicals and copper tracking. So that's why you've got the copper in there. And when it comes to the ICs, instead of using copper and also lots and lots of materials, I just made it platinum with silicon. Just make it doable within the game. Electronic components are quite literally, well, ceramics, plastic coating, and copper wire, or tin wire, or tin plating, or anything like that. But because there's no tin in the game, just made it out of copper wire and plastic, just to make it doable. The empty bottles, this is not me, this was the lead dev. 24 plant fiber to make a bottle. It doesn't use plastic to make bottles anymore. That's my warning to say that I need to quickly pack up and get ready to set out. Basically in a full suit, so that I don't get any grief from the job centre. So I will be right back, and then we can continue on with this little explanation of what you'll be able to see when it comes to the balancing within the game when the update goes live. Okay, and we're back. So yeah, I wonder how many people, how many of you know the saying, when it rains it pours. My luck is terrible. It's pretty typical that 5 minutes before leaving the door, I wind up sneezing and then trapping something within my neck, so I can't look to my left. It's so painful. I don't know what the hell I trapped there, but yeah, hence the saying, when it rains, it pours. It wasn't raining outside this time. There was a humongous grey cloud up there. But I made it back before any rain started, and it's still dry out there at the moment. But yeah, Jesus, could have done without something getting trapped in my neck. And then, of course, when I come back, my dad decides to spray me with his pain relief spray, and some of it winds up going in my eye. So yay, like I said, when it rains, it pours. Leave the house with one major pain and come back and then wind up with another major pain. But yeah. Okay, so I think we left off with the circuit boards, didn't we? So haven't really changed the biomass. So basically some sulfur, some water, you can make biomass. We don't currently have anything that, well, very much that actually requires biomass. Who knows? There might be some other things that we can maybe twist some arms and get into the game and have another use for the biomass. I can think of a couple of things, but I'm not going to say it out loud just in case somebody thinks that I might wind up bringing it in when I might not even be able to. So, with that said, the ingredients on these, I think I've just left them the same. I have changed the packet of nails, I think. I've, yeah, the packet of nails basically was a lot of scrap. And I thought, screw it, let's just make it one iron bar, or one piece of iron, because it would make more sense. You get one or two nails out of some scrap, that's okay. And then if you actually want to make lots of nails, let's say a pack of 24, just use one piece of iron. If you use one iron ingot, I'm pretty sure that you can get 24 or even more than 24 nails out of it. So yeah, that's why I've basically done that. Granted, when it comes to the iron sheet, which I can't really see in here at the moment, there should be an iron sheet in there as well somewhere. Might have to make a furnace and make damn. Oh yeah, there it is, iron sheet. The iron sheets probably needs to be something like about 4 or 5 of these ingots, but just to keep the cost down, I've just kept it at 2 ingots. With the empty bottle, as in it requiring plant fiber, that was the head dev that suggested that. He also suggested that with the oil bottle by making it scrap metal. So we may have to twist his arm a little bit and have it renamed in the code, and then I have to go through the localizations after that to change it to an oil can, although we'd have to have a picture of an actual can. So again, some arm twisting may be required, and I'll try it on my end, see if I can twist some arms to get a different picture and have it renamed in the code, so that I can rename it through localizations. So that's basically all the languages. When it comes to languages, I've solved a couple of issues with the translations, with missing sentences, missing words, missing descriptions. Apparently there were a couple missing in the French language. They've been re-added. I did that a little while ago, and that will be in the upcoming update. There have been a couple more words added to all the different languages. There is another language that will be coming eventually. Already have the file for it, just have to have the go-ahead to finish putting it together. I'm not sure if they've got a flag for it yet under the options, but also not sure how. I think the reason why they said for me not to do the translation on it yet is because they don't know which way around the language is going, if it's going left to right or right to left. And that's basically the Arabic languages, or one of them at least. So yeah, I don't know if it's left to right or right to left when it comes to that stuff. And knowing that would be a benefit in a way, because then we could actually add it. But that said, there's not really much else that's actually changed here. The polymers are fixed at. You basically use 1 crude oil and 1 salt to make 2 polymers, and then 1 polymer to make 2 plastic. I've kept that the same. I haven't done any more mucking about with that. So that is basically how I left it. Although the prices may be a little bit different. And again, that's going through it now. Cloth, I don't think I've done that one by the look of it, because that requires 2 scrap cloth, and I'm pretty sure that scrap cloth was a bit more expensive than that. So let's quickly double check. This is why I haven't done the clothing yet, because I need to make sure that everything on that side is right. So scrap cloth is 10 each, so that would be, so normal cloth would be at least 20, maybe 25 credits in that case. So that's why I have not done the clothing yet, because I still need to make sure that that balancing is correct. So I'll be going through that later on today. Hopefully my neck can sort itself out with a lay down. But yeah, it's not good. But as soon as I've got the clothing out of the way, then that's all of it, and it should be fully balanced by that period. But I'm not sure if I can get it out before the update goes live, or if I can. So we'll have to play it by ear. Hopefully I can do it and get it all done by the update. And then all it is just keep on top of all the updates to make sure that there are no bugs. At least if there are any bugs, sort them out before it goes live. And of course, that's easier said than done, because you have to go through the game from start to finish, all the way through it and beyond, to make sure that it's not buggy as hell. There is currently a small bug which needs to be worked on, where one of the keys is linked to something that's broken. Basically, it's the G key. Whatever you do, probably don't want to hit the G key when the update goes live, unless well, I'll do another probably live stream as soon as the update actually goes live, and then we can test it right there and then, because it does require an Alt F4 to get out of it. And whatever you do, do not open up the inventory and close it again, because even the Alt F4 requires being able to see the mouse. And if you have that issue that somebody found on the beta a while ago, where you hit G and the game completely freezes up, yeah, I had a little bit of a look at that, and yes, that does happen. So hopefully that should be sorted out by the update. So going back to the main thing that I wanted to show, I don't think I've really done anything with the weapons. So other than balancing prices out, all the prices are now correct, along with the ammunition as well. When it comes to the boxes of ammunition, okay, the text is slightly weird still. I have no control over it. I don't know where it is, otherwise I would have changed it myself. But basically, a box of 9mm ammo, box of 24 of them requires 24 rounds of ammunition, and then 5 plant fiber just for the box itself. And then that will be, in the case of, you can basically stack a lot more in your inventory and not having to worry about having a full inventory and no ammo. Or just one stack of ammo and a full inventory and going, I'm running out of ammo. Of course, at the moment, if you run out of ammo still, or basically if the weapons get to breaking point, you may want to dump it before it breaks, because there is still that bug where if it breaks, your character is bugged to buggery, and the only way to get out of that bug state is to shut down into the main menu, and then from the main menu back into the game. So in other words, a relog. I suspect the only way to fix it for the moment would be to remove all degradation from the weapons. But I would have to get a go-ahead from the lead dev on that, because at the moment I don't think he would agree to that. We have extended the life expectancy of the weapons, but that's only prolonging of the same bug. So if you keep an eye on these weapons, so the machine guns, sniper rifles, the pistol, the shotgun, if you keep an eye on those 4, if they're getting very close to breaking, just dump them. Just dump them on the ground. Don't pick them up. Just leave them. Let them despawn. Make a new one. Now, I have thought of ways around this issue, but again, I need to get the go-ahead from the lead dev, so I'm not going to mention it just yet. But there may be a solution to it. I just don't know if we can implement it, but it's definitely worth asking. And I'll do that as soon as I can, as soon as they're online. Which should be in about 3 hours from now. Should be 7 AM by then for them. Okay, so with that said, the main thing that I really wanted to bring up is the ships. The ships and the car parts. So when it comes to the car parts and bits and pieces, I've made it as close to realistic as possible, but when it comes to the recipe, I can only have up to 5 materials in the recipe. So if it was something that required a lot more than 5, I have to compromise somewhere. So with that compromise, when it comes to the ship, the spinner that you can create, as you can see, the price is a little bit more than what it was before. Only a little bit, and I rounded it. The weight is the same. It's slightly wrong, but you could say that there's a little bit of editorial's license with that, as in you lose a little bit of materials when you're crafting bigger items, because you don't always use everything that you require in order to make it, and sometimes when doing some things, you lose a little bit of weight here and there as well. So when it comes to the spinner in particular, in the current way of building it, you don't require the booster drive, you don't require the fusion reactor, you don't require the nuclear reactor, I think. Well, basically, you don't require the boost drive, you don't require the propulsion engine, you don't require the space engine. In other words, oh yeah, and the No, you do require the cockpit. In other words, why are those necessary? And the reason for them is, well, the ship doesn't work without them. But when you craft the ship out of just these three materials, which I believe are the main three that are currently in the game, or at least they were, it's a case of you built the ship and all of a sudden you have those items free. So that's a major exploit. So I've closed that exploit down permanently. So now you have to make the booster drive, you have to make the fusion reactor, you have to make the, well, actually you can collect the booster drive, you can collect the propulsion engine, you can collect the space engine, you can collect the vehicle lights and the vehicle radio out of other vehicles. So you could actually get that one and that one straight out of the car, but you can also get them out of other ships, in which case you can get a booster drive from a ship, you can get a propulsion engine and the space engine from slightly cheaper ships. Now the reason why I'm bringing that up is because they are now required to make the spinner. So if we go onto the spinner itself, it now requires the cockpit, the frame, the spinner hull, which are the main three that you would have required, probably some plastic as well initially, but now you also require the fusion engine, the propulsion engine and the booster drive just to make the ship. You can also buy them from the vehicle depot, but the other thing is, as you can see, like I said, I'm limited to a maximum of 5. Otherwise, it would have been all of those as separate entities in the required items list. But because we're limited to 5 in the recipe, I've had to compromise somewhere. I've had to hide them a little bit. So if we go to the hull has now got the headlights in it. The spinner frame has got the space engine in it. The cockpit has got the radio in it and the flight controller CPU. Because again, that was initially separate from the actual spinner itself. I think you had to have the flight control CPU in the spinner. We can have a look later on, maybe get the initial current game up later and have a little look. So I've now integrated all of the required elements to make the ship work. I've actually implemented them all in construction of the spinner. Now you can either take them out of other ships, so you don't have to craft them, or if you want to keep everything cheap on the credits, you can actually just make the whole thing from scratch, and it's not that hard. I've cut the resources required way back, just purely to keep that price down. So when it comes to making a spinner hull, the frame, that used to be 12 iron bars. So that would take some time to make. It would also required plastic, copper, silica, and a couple other things. Same with the spinner hull. It had iron sheets, it had iron bars, it had quite a few other things. So just to cut that down price-wise, as well as time and everything else, just to keep everything nice and balanced, I basically integrated the parts and also made the parts somewhat more authentic. For example, I've also just tweaked the vehicle radio. So the vehicle radio used to be a metal sheet with, I think it's one electronic component. So I've made it one electronic component, one metal sheet, and added copper wire, because when you're making a radio, copper wire is definitely required, because you have a coil in there for the AM/FM signal. granted, AM/FM, not many people use that anymore, but actual normal car radios still have that little ferrite core with the copper wire wrapped around it. So that's basically why I've added the copper wiring and why that's now in there. And it also makes up for the price difference, because let's say the price of the radio didn't measure up to the price of the components inside at all. So I cut down a couple of things. I've added one additional thing. It sort of makes sense now, but I was not allowed to drop the price too much or raise it too much or anything like that. So I've compromised here and there. If I really wanted to do it bang on the same as a radio, you'd have a circuit board in there. You'd have a little bit of silicone. You'd have you'd have quite a lot of stuff in there. So I didn't want to do that. There are some things that may change in the future. I might add the electronics in the circuit board, because let's face it, it would then cut down some of the mucking about. But first things first, I'm going to leave it like this for the moment, see if everyone's okay with it. If they're not okay with it, then I'll figure something out. I always do. But I wanted to remove some of the really, really bad exploits, and this was an easy way to remove some exploits. So with that said, when it comes to the booster drive, now we require the fusion reactor, and the propulsion drive requires the nuclear reactor. Also the space drive, space engine requires the fusion reactor. The reason why I made the propulsion engine the nuclear reactor instead of the fusion reactor, because it was the other way around. When you're looking at nuclear physics, a nuclear reactor came first, fusion came last. So propulsion engine is the first thing that you'd make, and the space engine, to go that bit faster, is what you'd make second. So when it comes to the nuclear reactor and the fusion reactor, the components are almost identical, because once again I'm limited to a maximum of 5 things. So with that said, I hope that you guys don't mind the changes too much. But I've also increased the prices of some of the other ships, and also decreased some of the prices of other ships. Now, not all of the ships, not all of the vehicles are currently added in the game. There are a lot of ships in the code. There are a lot of icons for other ships. There are same with the vehicles. I'm not sure if they're all going to be added or not. But at the moment, everything that is currently available in the game, I've balanced all in, and they're all there. Of course, if you want the better weapons, you have to go to the Shogun Station. I highly recommend you use the ferry tickets and not a ship, because you cannot park a ship in the Shogun Station. If you do, good luck trying to get that bloody ship out. Because if I find one up there again, I'm going to delete it. I'm going to remove it completely. Because people tend to park them in the ferry bays, and when you land the ferry in there, you are sticking somebody else's ship and the ferry at the same time, and it's a pain in the backside. It's like people are constantly intentionally parking there just to grief others. If you must take your ship to the Shogun Station, park it outside. Have a spacesuit on, jetpack, fly in through the shield wall. Hopefully at some point we'll have a parking area outside of the station, so that people won't have trouble getting their ship out because they keep hitting a bulkhead in the space station, and it's very hard to get any ships to fly out of it other than the ferries. But the main reason why that design was not changed and the ferries were added was so that you actually use the ferry system and to go in between stations. And then if you just want to go from planet to planet without anything in between, then you'd use the ship. And that's why the ship's got a booster drive. You just aim for the planet and just keep going. However, with that, you do have to make sure that you've got plenty of fuel, either on your person or in the ship, and then just keep feeding it when necessary. But that said, I'm going to leave you guys here for the moment. We've unfortunately come up to the end of this video. I don't want to make it too long. So if you've liked what you've seen so far, please leave a like. If you didn't, please let me know why in the comments below. Also, if you're not subscribed already, please hit the subscribe button to help. What the hell? Okay, it's probably that. Okay. Sorry, so, a couple errors. 35 bugs. It looks like it's all the same thing, so I'll have to send a bug report to the programmer later. But yeah, so if you've liked what you've seen so far, please leave a like. If you didn't, please let me know why in the comments below. Also, if you're not subscribed already, please hit the subscribe button to help the channel grow, and the little bell icon, and select all to get notified when next video or live stream goes up. Thank you all for watching, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed the video and will enjoy future videos and live streams to come. Thank you all for watching, and bye for now.